In a quiet, seemingly ordinary town nestled in the valley between two mountain ranges, there was a house unlike any other. It was the last house on the street, shrouded in mist, always surrounded by an eerie calm that sent a shiver down anyone's spine who dared pass by. The locals often referred to it as the Whispering House, though no one really knew why. They only knew one thing: strange things happened there, and no one who went inside ever stayed long enough to tell the tale. The house had stood empty for decades, untouched, uninhabited, with its windows boarded up and its paint peeling off like old skin. Yet the whispers were always there. Soft murmurs that drifted through the streets on stormy nights. Whispers of a tragedy. Whispers of lost souls. Whispers of a curse. I had heard these stories growing up, of course, but I always thought they were just stories. Things told to children to keep them away from the old decaying house. That is, until I found myself standing at the door of that very house. It was a Friday afternoon when I received the letter. It was hand-delivered. No return address, no stamp, just a simple piece of paper, folded in half and sealed with wax. I had no idea who could have sent it, but the words inside were clear. Come to the Whispering House. You're invited to uncover the truth. My heart raced. I had always been curious about the house, but I had never dared to approach it, knowing the stories that surrounded it. Yet, the letter intrigued me. There was something in the phrasing, something that called out to me. Perhaps I was being foolish, but I couldn't resist. That evening, after the sun dipped below the mountains, I made my way to the house. The air around the house was thick with mist as I approached the front gate. The large wrought iron fence creaked as I pushed it open, and I hesitated for a moment before stepping inside the overgrown yard. The house loomed before me, casting long, shadowy figures across the yard, like fingers stretching towards the ground. I reached the door, and to my surprise, it was ajar. No lock, no resistance. It felt as though the house was waiting for me, beckoning me inside. I pushed the door open and stepped into the darkness. The air was cold and stale, heavy with the scent of old wood and dust, and floor creaked beneath my feet as I ventured further into the house. The silence broken only by the sound of my own breath. Suddenly, I heard it. A soft whisper, like a breeze against my ear, faint but clear. Leave. I froze, my heart pounding. I spun around, but there was no one, just the empty, dark house. I was alone, or so I thought. The house seemed alive, like it was watching me, waiting for me to make my next move. The whispers grew louder, more urgent, and as I moved deeper into the house, I noticed something strange. Shadows move on their own. I stepped into what looked like the living room. The walls were adorned with faded portraits of people I didn't recognize. As I walked past them, I swore I saw the eyes in the paintings following me. But what caught my attention most was the fireplace. The hearth was cold, but the shadows danced across the room, swirling in unnatural patterns. It was then that I saw them, figures in the shadows, faint but distinct, moving just outside the light. They weren't human, at least not entirely. They were like silhouettes, blurred and flickering, never fully in focus. And they were whispering. At first, the whispers were unintelligible, but as I strained to listen, the words began to form. Help us. Free us. The voice was female, broken like someone who had been calling out for years without response. I felt a chill run down my spine, but I couldn't look away. There was something in those voices, something that pulled at me, that made me feel like I was needed, like I had a part to play in whatever was unfolding. I continued deeper into the house, following the whispers, and eventually came to a narrow staircase leading to the basement. The shadows flickered more intensely now, almost as if urging me downward. Without thinking, I descended into the darkness. The basement was colder than the rest of the house, and the air smelled of mold and mildew. But what struck me the most were the walls, covered in strange symbols etched into the stone like ancient runes. Some of them seemed familiar, like something I had seen in a history book, but others were completely foreign. In the center of the room stood an old wooden chest, its surface worn with age. The whispers had stopped, replaced by soft, rhythmic tapping, like someone or something was tapping at the chest from the inside. I hesitated, staring at the chest. What was inside? What did I need to uncover? The air grew thick, and I felt a strange pull toward it. The shadows swirled faster around me, and the tapping grew louder, more frantic. I opened the chest. Inside was a journal, its pages yellowed with age. As I flipped through it, I began to understand the truth. The journal belonged to a woman named Eleanor, who had lived in this house over a century ago. She had written of her life here, the joy she had felt with her family, and the tragedy that had befallen them. Eleanor's family had been involved in the occult, conducting forbidden rituals in an attempt to summon otherworldly powers. One night, during one such ritual, something had gone wrong. They had opened a doorway to the unknown and, in doing so, had unleashed a malevolent force that had taken hold of the house, trapping their souls inside. Eleanor had tried to stop it, but it was too late. The darkness had claimed her, her family, and the house. As I read, the truth became clearer. The whispers were the trapped souls of Eleanor's family, and the shadows were manifestations of the dark entity they had summoned. They were stuck in this house, their souls bound by the very forces they had unleashed. The journal ended abruptly with Eleanor's final words. "Find the key, set us free." The key? What key? Just then, I felt a presence behind me, cold and heavy. I turned around to find myself face to face with one of the shadows. This one was different from the others. It was solid, its form distinct. It reached out, its fingers curling toward me. "Help us!" It whispered, its voice deep and haunting. I didn't know what to do. My heart raced, and fear coursed through my veins. But sometimes within me, the same pull I had felt when I first entered the house told me I had to act. The shadows closed in, and the whispers became deafening. I realized that I wasn't just a visitor in this house anymore. I was part of this story, a piece of the puzzle. I reached into my pocket and found the key I hadn't noticed before. It was cold, its metal edged with these strange markings. I didn't know what it opened, but I knew it was the only way to break the curse. I rushed to the door at the far end of the basement. The shadows are still creeping closer, their forms becoming more distinct, more aggressive. I inserted the key into the lock and turned it. The door creaked open, revealing a small room with a stone altar. On the altar was a large black stone, pulsating with an unnatural energy. I didn't hesitate. I placed the key into the stone, and with a surge of power, everything went dark. The next morning, the house was quiet. The shadows were gone. The whispers had stopped. The air was clear. The house no longer held the oppressive energy it once did. I never saw the spirits of Eleanor or her family again, but I knew they were free. The curse had been lifted. I left the house that day, never to return. But every now and then, when I walk through the town, I hear faint whispers on the wind. And I smile, knowing that I was the one who broke the curse.